We are just about halfway through the 2012 NFL season, and for fantasy owners, that means it's time to talk trade. Welcome into the Sporting News studios with Sporting News Fantasy Source expert George Winkler. I'm Tom Vandervoort, and George, you're either trading players or you're looking to pick a player up. Let's go over some of the maybe guys you might want to trade or guys you might want to think about picking up in a trade.
Well, let's start at quarterback and start with the guys that we want to pick up in a trade. And there's a couple of slow starters with Matthew Stafford and Tony Romo, and I think that these guys are going to pick it up down the stretch because they have good matchups. They still have a lot of talent on their teams, and with Matthew Stafford at least, it's just a matter of getting over those slow starts. You can see his quarterback rating go up by the quarter. Maybe he just needs to move his routine up a couple of hours before game time because he's still a talented player, and I think he has a lot of value to offer down the stretch.
So do you think he could be had for maybe a price that's lower than his actual value here?
Absolutely, because right now he's hanging out in the 20th ranked of the quarterbacks and not in the top 10. You'll have guys like, Christian Ponder and Andy Dalton who are in the top 10 to 12 quarterbacks, and those are the guys you're looking to move out to get a guy like Matthew Stafford, who actually had a really good season last year.
Now, what about a Michael Vick or a Cam Newton, another couple of quarterbacks that you might have really gone into the season with high hopes for but haven't delivered so far?
Well, kind of the same thing. They're still got the talent. More so, I'm looking at Vick in that situation because Newton, there's a lot going on in Carolina. They just fired their GM. That might either spark the team or it might cause them to put even more pressure on themselves. So, Michael Vick, another guy who you look at his matchups down the stretch, there are no unfavorable matchups, and we've seen him do it before, so why not try to get him on your team?
Okay, now how about at the running back position?
At the running back position, I've actually got some concerns, and those are with Ahmad Bradshaw, Sean Green, and Frank Gore. These are all players who are, in the top 12 running backs right now, but might not be there toward the end. With Gore and Bradshaw, it's mostly due to injuries. And already, Gore has a rib injury going into this week. Bradshaw's chronic foot problems are preventing him from practicing this week. So you got to look at kind of what can I get for these guys in return. I think with these guys, with running backs being a premium, you can really get some good things, a top wide receiver, a top quarterback, if you're weak at those positions.
I see. So even workload-wise, you might see that decline for these players.
Yeah, and San Francisco has made a concerted effort not to overwork Frank Gore. His carries are down this year. Bradshaw, they have some talent. They've already seen with Andre Brown and a rookie with David Wilson. They could go to some options to kind of rest them down the stretch as they get ready for the playoffs.
I got you. Now, how about at the wide receiver position?
At the wide receiver position, I don't want to give up on Kenny Britt. He keeps letting me down, but he's such an amazing talent. He's getting close to being healthy. The same thing goes for Hakeem Nicks. He's almost 100%. Their fantasy scores right now are a little bit down, so people are going to look at them not in the same light as they would, an A.J. Green. So now is the time to swoop in and try to get these guys on the cheap. Okay,
and finally, as always, George, we definitely need a sleeper this week. Looking at the matchups, who do you have for us?
I like Jeremy Curley of the Jets. Miami has been really good at stopping the run this year, so the Jets are going to have to pass the ball to win this game. Curley has 26 targets over the last 3 games. Mark Sanchez really seems to trust him, and he's moved into that role that Santonio Holmes used to have, and now that Holmes out for this season, I like Curley this week and going forward, too.
All right, there you go. Fantasy tips from George Winkler of Sporting News Fantasy Source. For Ram Fantasy Update, I'm Tom Vandervoort. Thanks for watching.